All right, so you want to nail that Scrum Master interview, huh?
Sounds like it.
Well, you've sent us a ton of potential questions.
30 to be exact. Wow, that's a lot.
It is, and honestly, some of these are seriously sneaky.
Yeah, I bet.
But lucky for you, we've got an expert here to help us figure out what those interviewers are really asking.
Happy to help. I love this stuff. What I find fascinating is these questions aren't just testing you on the Scrum Guide. They're designed to see if you can spot trouble brewing under the surface, even when the team seems perfect.
Okay, so like a Scrum Master detective exam.
Exactly.
What kind of red flags should we be watching out for? Give us an example.
Let's take that question about the team with a perfectly linear burn-down chart. On the surface, it seems like a dream, right?
Steady progress, predictable outcome.
Right. But that's actually often a major warning sign.
Hold on. Why would a smooth burn down be a bad thing? That's what we're all aiming for, isn't it?
Well, think about it. A real Agile team is constantly inspecting and adapting. Things change. They hit roadblocks. Their understanding of the work evolves. A perfectly linear burn down could mean they're not adjusting their plan, or even worse, they've padded their estimates to make it look stable.
So how do you expose that in an interview? You just come right out and say, hey, your team's probably lying about their progress.
Well, not quite.
Okay, good.
You can use the question to show you can think critically and you're willing to dig deeper. You could say something like, how does the team ensure those estimates reflect the work, and how do they adapt their plan when things come up?
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah.
It shows you're thinking about how a Scrum team really works in the real world, not just textbook answers.
Exactly. That's going to set you apart from other candidates. Interviewers want to see you understand the why behind the practices, not just the what, and that you can use them to find potential issues.
All right, so linear burn down equals suspicious. What else should we be wary of?
Well, another question that trips people up involves a scaled environment, where teams celebrate Scrum Masters for resolving all their impediments.
Okay.
Now, at first glance, it sounds great. Everyone's happy. Things are smooth. But
there's always a but, right? What's the catch here?
Well, it could mean there's a culture of dependency.
How so?
If Scrum Masters are always swooping in to save the day, the teams aren't empowered to solve problems themselves.
Right. Makes sense.
And even more important,
it
hides those problems from the people who can fix them.
You mean at the organizational level?
Right. It stops the root causes from being addressed, like putting a Band-Aid on a broken bone. You're hiding the problem instead of fixing it.
So a good Scrum Master wouldn't just be a problem solver. They'd help the organization find and fix those deeper problems too.
You got it. And that's what you want to make clear in your interview. You could say something like, my goal is to help the team become self-sufficient problem solvers. And when problems do come up, I help the organization get to the root cause and prevent it from happening again.
Okay, so it's not about putting out fires. It's about preventing them in the first place.
Exactly. And that is the kind of thinking that interviewers love.
Got it. All right, hit me with another curveball.
All right, how about this? A team's velocity doubles after they start doing automated testing. It sounds amazing, right?
Sure, who wouldn't want to work twice as fast? What's wrong with that?
Well, speed's great, but we can't forget about quality and delivering value.
Yeah.
If a team suddenly doubles their output, we need to know why.
Right. Are they cutting corners? Are they sacrificing thoroughness for speed?
Yeah, exactly. And are they actually delivering value or just more stuff?
So how do you bring that up in an interview without sounding like you're against automation?
Talk about it in terms of making improvements that last. Like you could say, I'd be excited to see that kind of improvement, but I'd also want to make sure quality isn't slipping. Are we still doing good testing? Are we keeping our definition of done? And are we making sure what we deliver is valuable, not just another feature?
I'm starting to see a pattern here. It's not about giving the right answer. It's about showing you can analyze the situation, find potential problems, and ask the right questions.
You got it. And those questions, that curiosity, is what makes you stand out as a Scrum Master who gets it.
All right, give me another one of those tricky interview questions. What else is out there?
Speaking of quality and value, here's another one that raises some interesting questions.
Okay, lay it on me.
What do you think about this scenario? In a scaled environment, every single team is reporting green status.
Oh, okay. So like everyone's on track, projects are humming along, everyone's happy. Sounds like a dream, right?
Right, but something feels off about that perfect record, don't you think?
Yeah, it almost seems too good to be true. Like, what are they hiding?
You're right to be suspicious. Sounds like normalization of deviance.
Normalization of deviance. That sounds kind of scary. What is that exactly?
Well, it's when small deviations from the norm just become the norm.
Okay.
So in this case, it might mean teams are reporting green even when they're facing problems or risks.
Just to make things look good. But wouldn't that backfire eventually?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It creates this culture where problems just get swept under the rug, and then they fester and grow.
So you end up with even bigger problems later on.
Exactly. And it also stops people from learning and improving because no one wants to talk about what's really going on.
So if an interviewer asks me about this, how do I show them that I understand the danger of this greenwashing culture?
Show them you're not afraid to dig a little deeper, challenge the status quo. You could say, those green status reports look great, but I'd want to make sure we're not sacrificing honesty and communication just to keep everyone happy. I'd encourage teams to be open about their challenges, and then we can figure out how to fix those underlying problems.
So it's about creating a culture where it's safe to talk about both the good and the bad.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. So this next question really threw me for a loop. It's about a product owner who keeps two separate product backlogs, one for the team and one for stakeholders. What's up with that?
Whoa, yeah, that's a red flag for sure. Sounds like there's a lack of transparency there, maybe even some disconnect.
Like between what the team's actually working on and what the stakeholders actually need.
Exactly, and that can be a recipe for disaster.
So what happens? The information gets all distorted.
Yep. Priorities get misaligned, effort gets wasted, and you end up with a product that nobody actually wants.
Ouch, that's not good.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you address that in an interview?
Well, you gotta stress how important transparency is. And having just one source of truth, so you could say something like, keeping separate backlogs is dangerous. It creates silos, breaks down trust, and stops the team from getting a clear picture of what they need to build. As a Scrum Master, I'd push for one single transparent product backlog. Everyone has access, everyone can contribute, and we're all working from the same information.
Got it. Transparency, open communication, one source of truth. I'm starting to sense a theme here. And speaking of themes, this next one seems to go against a pretty core principle of Scrum. Continuous improvement. It talks about a Scrum Master who's proud that their team never exceeds their velocity. Isn't consistency a good thing?
It is. But if a team hits the same velocity every single sprint, it might mean they've gotten a little complacent. They're not really pushing themselves or trying new things.
So they're stuck, even if they are producing predictable results.
Right.
But stakeholders would be happy with consistent delivery, right?
Sure, but how do you balance that with the need to keep getting better?
Right.
It's a tough one. But you can address it in your interview. You could say, it's great that the team is so consistent, but are they reaching their full potential? Are we trying new things, experimenting? Are we really looking for ways to improve and deliver even more value? Remember, Scrum is about embracing change and going for the best, not just settling.
I'm really starting to see how nuanced these questions are. You really have to understand the principles behind Scrum, not just the rules.
Exactly. And that's what makes a Scrum Master truly effective.
Okay, let's keep going. What other questions do we need to unpack?
Let's talk about how teams break down their work. What do you think about a development team that always breaks down their work into small, similar-sized stories?
Well, smaller stories are good, right? Easier to manage, easier to estimate, faster to complete. What's the problem?
Breaking things down is good. But if a team gets too focused on making all their stories the same size, they might miss the bigger picture.
Like they're so busy chopping wood that they forget they're building a house.
Yeah. They might be delivering good work, but it might not all fit together right to create something truly valuable.
So you need to find that balance between breaking down the work and understanding how it all fits together.
Exactly. And this is your chance to show the interviewer you can think about the whole system. You could say, I like breaking things down into smaller stories, but we also need to make sure those stories connect back to what users actually need. We don't want to lose sight of the forest for the trees.
Okay, I'm starting to feel like a Scrum Master detective here.
Aha! That's the spirit.
Okay, what other mysteries are waiting for us?
All right, imagine this. You're in a large organization, and all the Scrum Masters are saying their teams are doing Scrum by the book. Sounds amazing, right?
Okay, I've learned my lesson.
Yeah.
There's got to be a catch. What am I missing here?
Right. Following the rules is great, but if they're doing it without really thinking about it, it could mean they don't really understand the point of Scrum.
So it's not about just going through the motions. You have to actually understand why you're doing it.
Right. Scrum is a framework, not a set of rules carved in stone. It should adapt to each team, each situation.
So how would you talk about this Scrum by the book situation